There's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails. Folks, today I have another 9 characters that you may be modding poorly. I'm going to try to do this every month. I was so impressed. I put out a post on YouTube asking for people to just give their feedback on what characters they would like to see me talk about. There were I think there's around 100 comments on it, and there's over 43 different characters requested. I couldn't do all of them, obviously, and I told you guys in that post that I couldn't, but I really appreciate the input, guys, and a lot of those characters made the list because there was a lot of overlap. Now, I'm not going to be covering any of the prepared squad, because I'm going to do a whole new video on that, because prepared is extremely difficult to understand, and I'm going to try to dumb it down for you guys. I know it reasonably well. There are other people, and there might not be plural. There might only be like 1 or 2 people in the whole world who actually understands the full significance of prepared, and I am not necessarily one of them. It's very interesting, though. We'll explore it together, and Desh Rendar is on his way. Super exciting to see, and it's a GAC specific character, so lots to be excited about there, guys. I am super pumped for that character out of all of the new ones that we might be getting. I don't know what the other ones are going to be, the marquees for Starkiller, but it should be exciting. So I'm going to try to do this every month, do a new Toons You May Be Modding Poorly video, and so I'm going to probably just put out a post most months and ask for input, and we'll go from there. We want to do more and more modding videos, guys, just because it seems like there's an absence in the game for people talking about modding, and I want to take the opportunity to say that I'm open to learning too, guys. I have my ideas, and I think for the most part my modding theory is sound, but there's always more in context. Like people are always going to have more like wisdom to share, and I'll listen. If you guys are respectful in the comments, let me know what you think I missed, what you think is confusing, what I didn't explain well. I want to know. That's an important part of our collaborative abilities, guys. We all want to find the truth, and it's not about me holding the truth. I'm trying to present it, but the idea is we're all going to put our heads together and figure it out together, and I can't do that if people are being dicks. Not that you guys are. Honestly, we've got a pretty respectful community. So that being said, folks, just one last thing I want to point out, remind you, if you want to support the channel for free, all you've got to do, hit that thumbs up button to, help us mount the algorithm. Make a comment, leave a comment in the comment area. If you leave a comment on someone else's comment, that also helps the algorithm. And we're just trying to blow up as much as possible, guys. I can't do it without you, and I really appreciate everything you've done for me in terms of that. So, if you like this video, share it with your friends. Ask them to sub. Let's blow this thing up, shall we? That being said, let's get to the actual modding discussion. It'll be epic. Maybe. Whoa, why are we're in the game? That madness, how'd we get here? Why is Darth Revan staring at me? So, we're going to talk about Darth Revan first, guys. He is number 1, and the reason I want to talk about him is he's got an interesting situation in that he used to be easily counterable by Darth Vader. Now he is not. Darth Vader got the nerf, and Darth Revan is the happiest person in the whole galaxy about that. Now, I'm not going to talk about the Darth Vader nerf right now because that made me sad and it's not the greatest, but for me, but Darth Revan is very happy. Now, the one sad thing is with Darth Vader, Darth Revan was in a very strange spot, guys. He was in a spot where he was like, if you were slow, then Darth Vader couldn't counter him, but like bounty hunters could. But if he was fast, then Darth Vader could. And so you had to kind of just choose which one you wanted to get countered by. Now that Darth Vader's gone, it's good for him to be fast again. So there's a lot of things going on here. I'll just show you guys. My Darth Revan, very fast, 345. I know that's not the fastest out there, but 345 is fast enough. And so what you really want, you can get offense for him. You can get crit damage for him. I mean, there's a lot of stats that you want for him. The thing you have to remember, you want, because you're going to have Bastila Shan Fallen with you, she's going to boost your health by quite a bit. And so she, like, if she's with him, she's going to give him plus 70% max health. And so the circle is especially important, guys. You want that health circle. You don't want protection, even though protection might look like your stats are going to get boosted. You want the health one first. The cross, you could do offense if you want. I mean, he does a lot of damage. He is a DPS character for sure, but I mean, health is also a good other one. Like, the thing about Darth Revan is he's all about control, and his team is about trying to control things, trying to make sure that everyone is doing things to stop your opponent from being able to do things. So you're doing fear, you're causing stagger with Basti, you're doing tenacity down with HK, and then you're doing a ton of damage with the different, with Marauder, with Darth Revan. You're causing fear, and it's just like this huge thing. Everyone's got these huge stacks of ferocity, so they're all going fast, and so he's great with offense, but you don't necessarily need that because it's a control team. So whatever is convenient for you. You want offense, you want health is probably fine for him. You want speed, everything. Those are probably the two biggest ones, guys. Now, one thing that I will point out for my modding, I have defense set. That doesn't do much for him, especially as the lead, because ferocity negates defense. So he doesn't have much defense at all anyways. I just happen to have two defense sets that that have the right primaries that I wanted. So health on the triangle, again, you could do crit damage if you wanted. You can do health here though as well, making him more resilient. And I just happened to have a health circle that had some decent speed. You guys can't even see it because the stupid bug. But I also had a good health set with speed, or defense set with health primary on it with good speed. So that's why I have that. I could also just have a couple offense mods. It doesn't matter. His secondary set doesn't matter. I would say that the very best one would be health for him for the reasons I stated before. And then you just want him smoking fast, folks. That is the start and end for it. I mean, 345, that's probably enough. So Darth Revan, don't give him defense. It doesn't matter. My defense set is there just purely as coincidence. And otherwise, that's it. Speed and health, guys. Some damage, and that is great. B1, this was a very interesting one to see people talk about in the comments, and I wanted to talk about B1 because there's interesting stuff going on with him. So first off, if you have crit damage, anything on him, stop it. Don't do that. He does not crit. He never crits. There are other characters, like Droideka seems like he doesn't crit because of some of his verbiage in his kit. B1 never ever crits. B1 can't score critical hits or be revived. So who cares about the be revived? I just emphasized it for no reason, but B1 can't score critical hits. Period. Can't do it. Cannot do it. And so if you have put a crit damage set on him, or if you put a crit damage triangle on him, you have failed. Now, another thing, people say that you want a speed set on him no matter what. That was one of the comments, and I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus here, but keep in mind, speed set on him is nice, especially if you want to go first, but that is not the most important thing. That is not the top priority. The top priority for him is being able to do withering crazy amounts of damage. And the way that works, guys, is whenever someone on his team that's a separatist takes a turn, he helps them, he assists, he does damage every single time that happens. And so it doesn't matter as much that him taking turns is nice. He heals people, he does all this stuff, and we'll get into that. But the thing that you have to remember is he is one of the most impactful characters in any combat ever, because every time one of his teammates takes a turn, he takes a turn. The other reason you don't really care about speed on him, except for maybe initial turn order, is because he's also gaining turn meter every time. So every time So another separatist ally uses an ability, so he assists. That's great. That's the thing I was just talking about. When another droid ally uses a special ability, B1 gains 15% turn meter, and you have a lot of characters that do a lot of special, like B2 can just spam specials. If you have the Zeta on Magna Guard can spam specials under certain circumstances, and he has 2 specials, so he's going to be bouncing back and forth. General Grievous, if people are dying, he's going to be doing a lot of specials as well, and so B1 is constantly just getting a ton of turn meters. So it makes a lot of sense if you want him to speed is great, but you just want him to do a ton of damage, because he's going to be shooting 5 times every time your team gets a turn. He's going to be shooting. He's going to be shooting. He's going to be shooting. It's overwhelming. Lots of offense on him, folks. The only other stat that matters besides raw offense is potency. You don't care about health or protection. You don't care about defense, because it doesn't matter. The way his stacks work, you guys can read the kit. I'm sure you guys understand how he works. Put a Zeta on him if you haven't, because that is straight up foolishness not to do it. But potency is really good because he is also applying target lock every time he does his AoE, and so inflict target lock on people, you want to be able to apply that potency. Now remember, he is also giving everyone extra offense, and he gives himself offense to himself and tenacity to everyone, and crit avoid on his team based on how many stacks he has. So that's great. You want to protect him, but we're not talking about strategy. We're just talking about him making sure he has the right stuff. But here's the thing, folks. You want him to be able to apply that target lock, because the rest of the team relies on target lock. So you want potency set, you want an offense set, ideally, and you want him to be relatively fast. 262 is okay. That's not super fast. I could stand to do significantly better. He's one of those characters that if you put more relics on him, that's better. I do have a speed arrow on him just because I don't want him to be ridiculously slow. Now, ideally, you just find a really fast offense arrow with good speed secondary, but as you can see, offense triangle, offense cross, and an offense square, and the 3 that have offense on him are 6E, so that he does more damage. So he can be an overwhelming, amazing character. You just need to make sure that you are utilizing him properly. Now, the Mandalorian is an interesting guy. He wants to do a lot of things, but the main thing for him is in the context of a bounty hunter team, which I don't think that you want to use him with any other team, to be honest. You want him to just stay with bounty hunters, because he does his disintegrate once he gets his contract. He can't get his contract without bounty hunters. So you don't care about his leadership. Well, you shouldn't. And the thing about him, though, folks, is each time he scores a crit, he gains 30% turn meter. And other bounty hunters gain half that amount. So he's running turn meter for that team in a huge way. And so you want him to crit, and he doesn't care about his damage. Like, sure, he can do, actually, he does decent damage. Once now that I have him at Relic 5, he actually does decent, like, just physical damage, or whatever kind of damage he does. Yeah, it's physical. So, but the thing that matters about him, the whole point of his kit, guys, is him disintegrating people. And disintegrating doesn't have damage, it just disintegrates the character. It doesn't matter how strong they are, as long as they're not a GL, he just takes them out. And so the idea, folks, is for him to take as many turns as he can, as quick as he can, and that route isn't through turn meter gain. Or it is through turn meter gain. It's not through speed. Now, you can have a specialized team with him to make sure that he can take out, like, General Skywalker in 5v5, etc. But if you're not doing that, which, I mean, it can be tricky, that's how mine is set up, you just want crit chance. You want him to be able to crit every time. So, offense cross, great, that's fine. You can also make him more survivable by giving him health or protection. That's probably fine. The protection circle means you don't need to have it be 6E. the crit chance triangle, the speed, like you just have 3 crit chance sets, and you want lots of crit chance. Now, people ask me like 119% crit chance, and then I think he gets some from his kit, and he gets some from other places. People ask me, why do you have so much crit chance? And I don't think, maybe I don't need quite as much, but like I said before, he doesn't care about anything else. Like, he wants to survive, he wants to be at least a little bit fast so he can actually start getting turns, but he's going to be assisting, he's going to be doing all this stuff. You want to crit, and there are a lot of places out there and a lot of teams that have crit avoidance arrows on them, especially because of relic levels and stuff. People just have passive crit avoid, and you want to avoid that crit avoid all you can, because he starts and ends with crit chance. That's it. Crit chance, and that's it. That's full stop. That's what he cares about, is crit chance. And if he does a little incidental other damage, he calls people to assist, etc. That's great. That's not his point, though. His point is getting his contract and disintegrating noobs right in the face. And it also serves to disintegrate the rest of their body, too. It's really neat. So, Greef Karga, he goes right alongside Mando, and Greef is a little bit different. He wants to be fast because he's going to go right next to Bosk. So what's going to happen in the context of a bounty hunters team? Now, I have a Faction Essentials bounty hunter team that you guys can watch if you want to. That's it's going to explain the turn order and how all of it works, but he's going to be 1 speed slower than your Bosk, and so my Bosk is 321, I believe. He might be a little bit faster, like 323, because I just had to switch mods around. But he wants to be very fast, and then he's just going to be sitting in the shadows. He stealths himself so he can just sit there with some protection and health and wait. You want him to be fast, though. He needs to be that second guy behind Bosk, at least as of right now. And everything else is just fine. The thing is, he likes to be able to land some debuffs every once in a while. The dual shot is really nice, actually, because he fires twice, and with that, so it does damage to enemy twice, and it inflicts daze for 2 turns. So it's not 2 opportunities to proc daze. It hits them twice, and it tries to inflict daze once. So if you have some extra stats to be able to get some potency on him, if you have that opportunity, then great. Being able to daze from him is really nice. Otherwise, I just put random mods on him to make sure that he's fast enough. So he has health on here, he's got defense, that doesn't matter, but the defense cross happens to be pretty quick. Protection, that's fine. And then of course the speed arrow, he can be faster, obviously, because we can get it to 6E, but I don't need to do that right now. Don't care about anything from him other than speed for the most part, and some survivability. Nest is one that you guys all asked about. She's a really tricky character to define, honestly, guys, because she does so many different things. So I run her with a Bando team currently because she, at least on my main account, she's able to assist that team quite a bit, putting daze on people, being able to do stuff. And if you put her on Bando, that means that I don't have to worry about I can put Bo-Katan with like a Maul team, a Maul DeLoreans team, or whatever it's called. And so Nest is great. She wants to be slower than your Bando if you can, because the Bando's going to go into his whistling bird stance. I call it his poop stance. And then after that, you want Nest to be able to do her AoE to cause all of that, all those debuffs to give whistling birds to him. So the biggest thing for me, though, folks, so Nest can be good with Bando, and she can do great with tenacity sets. The thing about her is you want... Okay, so you can have her really fast and do a lot of damage. You can have her be slow and do damage. You can have her be really potent and do damage to make sure that she lands daze on people. So you can have her fast, so she has a fairly decent quick kit, like starting speed. You can make her really fast and have her alpha strike and be able to get daze on everyone if you really want to. So whatever you want to do with her, I tend to really like her with tenacity, though. And the thing about tenacity, folks, is if you want to go tenacity, you can't just be lukewarm about it. That doesn't work. It doesn't work to have that work. You guys, if it works, then I guess it would work. So it would work to have that work. But anyways, we're doing work. The thing about tenacity, guys, is you either need to go extreme as much as you possibly can, or you need to just ignore it and go other directions. So for me, I still have the stats on her. Like so she's got the speed and everything that's kind of slow, but with Kuiil kind of boosts her speed up. Like he gives her a bunch of turn meters, so she doesn't need a bunch of speed as long as, you know, she can keep up with the rest of the team just fine. The thing about her is you want to, I like to have a lot of tenacity on her so that she doesn't get debuffed. She can always do what she wants to do, and if she needs to, she can try to solo a team. That doesn't happen much on my account. On my alt account, though, it happens much more regularly, and on my Prevail Man account, even in 5v5, there are very rarely matches that my Nest can't solo something. She is amazing early game. Late game or mid game, she's pretty good. Late game, she needs to be on a team for the most part. It's a rare time that she can actually go in and solo something in 5v5. 3v3, she can get it about half the time. So all I'm trying to say, guys, is you want a lot of tenacity on her if you want to do it my way. If you don't want to do it that way, that's fine. Get a lot of potency, get a lot of speed, a lot of offense, whatever. I think the one tweak that I would like to make, and I'm waiting for the right arrow, because I need to have all 3 tenacity sets. I'm waiting for an arrow that is not offense anymore. I want it to be health. I want her to be more healthy. Ideally, I would love to be able to slowly get her up to somewhere around 90k health, because once I put her on a defensive team, the other use for her is to stop other teams from being able to one-shot you because she is such a pain to get rid of. And the thing is, the way her whole kit works with the bonus protection and everything, that if you can't one-shot her from like base health, then she's going to, whoa, I hit my water bottle, crazy. So she's going to just gain so much bonus protection that you can't take her out. You have to cycle through. If she's really slow, they're not going to be able to take a turn, and or they're going to take too many turns, and they're going to time out. So getting her up to 90k health is probably the thing I want to do the most right now with her. I'm going to be moving away from all the damage. So she has crit damage triangle. That's great right now. She wants crit. She probably just wants a health triangle with tenacity. I think I'm just going to go with full tenacity here, guys, still. So she wants the 35% tenacity cross if you can. You can make her slow, though. That's the nice thing about her. She doesn't need speed. You want to give her a health circle because she regenerates her health. She regrows it at a quick rate. She does not regrow her protection at a fast rate unless you have Watt and or Kira involved. Now, otherwise, you probably just want to find different tenacity sets with high health secondaries. You also want to find tenacity set mods with high tenacity secondaries, just so that you can continue to boost her tenacity. Like having her at 160% tenacity is really, really nice. So, Nest, probably moving away from damage and more into survivability and annoyance factors is my opinion. Like, still want tenacity, but she does just, I think health is probably the way to do it. Okay, so those are the first 5. Let's go to the next 4. So we're going to talk about 5s. 5s is a really tricky guy as well. All the high-end guilds right now have him maxed out on health, and I'm not sure, like, they're using him for other things, I think. But I think in general, so the thing that you have to be aware of, so we have 5s, he counters, he does all this cool stuff. But the other piece of it, folks, is whenever he dies, he sacrifices himself, hands off a bunch of stats to the rest of his clone brothers, and so it's nice to have him with a ton of these stats. So max health, max protection. So he hands over both. He also hands over speed and offense stats. So a lot of people say, like, oh yeah, what I do with 5s is just give him a ton of offense, and then once he sacrifices himself, everyone else, all the clones, have a ton of offense, which I get that. The thing is, people know to target 5s first. It doesn't happen very often that you put your clone team on defense and they start and someone doesn't kill 5s first. Also, similarly, though, if you're attacking, if you're on offense and your opponent does manage to kill your 5s, like, you're not getting great banners anyways. I mean, the offense is great, but you probably don't need it. Like, you're not giving offense to General Skywalker. You're not giving offense to, well, you're giving some to Rex, but Rex doesn't care about that. Like, Echo a lot of times nowadays is just going to be modded for potency because he wants to be able to stun the Commander Luke team. And so like, giving off offense is just going to help Arc Trooper, essentially, and you're predicating everything on him dying, which he can make a fantastic tank that doesn't really die that easily. One thing I will point out, and I don't have it yet, but Relic 8 on 5s is a fantastic investment, just because if he does sacrifice, all of those stats that he's gaining from his relic levels are going to then go to the rest of his team. Now, the thing that you will probably do want to do, folks, the thing that I'm more focused on currently, at least in GAC, is if I don't want him to die very quickly. I want the Commander Luke team to struggle, and so what you want is protection on him, in my opinion. Now, this is going to be a controversial thing, but you want protection on him. You want to minimize the health. Now, granted, I do have a bunch of extra health on him, apparently, but I think that if we took the health set off, that would help. The thing about him is, with the protection, you want more protection than you want health. Because if you're worried about putting this team on defense and then Commander Luke beating it, Commander Luke teams all have exposed, like they're getting a lot of exposed damage, and Chewie is also doing a lot of % health damage, and all exposed damage is based off of max health. So if you put a lot of protection on 5s, and then he eventually, if he does sacrifice, or even if he doesn't, all of that protection is going to help you because they're doing less damage. Like if you hit someone with an expose, it does 20% of their max health. So let's just say 5s has 100k max health. You are going to end up doing 20k damage to 5s in addition to whatever damage, but the exposed does 20k. If you only have 50,000 health, then that expose only does 10k damage. And so in this case, trying to do that against 5s, so you get an expose, let's say this is 70k health, so it's going to be they're going to do 7k damage, well 14k I guess, 14,000, because that's 20%. And the 14,000 is easily just kind of swallowed by this protection, as opposed to if you max out your health instead of protection, you're going to give your opponent a ton more damage. Like, you can get his health up to like 120k if you want to. That's going to be a huge amount of damage. It's going to be 24,000. No, let's see, 12. Yeah, it's going to be quite a bit. 24,000 damage a pop, and it just makes them die way easier. So similar logic to, you want to reduce how much max protection or max health your General Skywalker has, for the exact same reason, and being countered by the Commander Luke team. So in my opinion, protection on him. If you want to, you can go defense instead. I kind of just like having max protection. I will probably be swapping out the health set for defense set and just call it good, folks. Jedi Knight Luke, this is one that a lot of people have asked me about, and they asked me why I don't have offense set on him, and the truth is I looked at some math on it. Someone did a comparison, and the comparison that I saw, now I'm not good at all the super advanced math, and I'll leave that to other people. I do pay attention to it. The thing about it is, offense set is probably a little bit better on Jedi Luke, but crit damage set is almost always about the same, because he doesn't have a super high crit chance right here, even with the crit chance set, but he's gaining all sorts of bonuses from different Jedi, from different characters and stuff, and so he doesn't necessarily need to do a huge amount of he doesn't need a huge amount of crit chance base. You're going to be critting with him pretty consistently, and so what I've found with a lot of times, some sets, some characters, kits really require offense specifically, or they really, really want crit damage. And I get that. Jedi Luke doesn't really have anything like that, except for maybe him doing true damage with his basic against tanks. And I feel like that's a little too, just a little too, specific. Like he still does an enormous amount of damage. The true damage isn't impacted at all by his crit chance or by crit damage, but otherwise, I mean, I think you can do either. So just an offense offense cross, and keep in mind, guys, if you have an offense set, or if you want to do if you're a damage character, DPS, like you have an offense cross, you have the crit damage triangle, and then ideally you would have a really fast offense set, or a really fast offense primary arrow. But if you don't, like if you're like me and you just have a limited number of those, he's not a character that like absolutely needs it. So the one thing to keep in mind, though, he does like having all of his stats like as high as, so you want him to be pretty quick, especially if you're taking him against other really good teams. In 5v5 especially, you want to be able to take down like the Supreme Leader Kylo team, etc. And he wants to be fast to be able to keep up with the rest of his team. You want health and protection, the damage, obviously he wants all of it. He's fairly greedy, but at the end of the day, he's a damage dealer. You should give him a damage set of some sort. Grandmaster Yoda is one that you guys requested the most heavily. This one got 4 votes. Nothing else got 4. So there were quite a few 3s and a ton of 2s. But Grandmaster Yoda was the one that you guys asked for the most. And this is also one of the trickiest ones because he does different things for different teams. So there are 2 different schools of thought for Grandmaster Yoda. The first is that he doesn't need any kind of speed. He manipulates turn meters so much at such a high rate that he just takes an enormous amount of turns even without any speed sets. And that works with Jedi Revan. If you want to take him with Jedi Revan, if that's his one use, that's probably good enough. Just put tons of offense on him because he's special damage, and the special damage has a higher rate of increase because offense sets tend, that gives a percentage of your total damage. So you can see physical set only gives him an extra 2.6k, but when you go down to the special offense, he is doing an enormously more bigger amount, 4.3k damage in addition to whatever he already had. He doesn't have much crit chance, though. He has enough buffs that generally he's going to be critting. You just want straight up offense though with him, and you can see my speed on him is actually increased over time. Plus 85 speed is not that fast for a character that I'm using typically, unless I know that he's not going to need a lot of turn meters. So if you're using him with Jedi Master Luke, you can also make him somewhat slow, unless I know that there's a comp that he is currently on that is countering some really cool stuff right now. And if you're using him with Jedi Master Luke or Kenobi, or I believe that he's actually on a Rey team currently that I see quite a bit, and that one you specifically want him to be fast enough to kind of keep up and do the things that you want him to do. I can't talk about that comp too much though. Then having speed set is great. So keep in mind though, folks, I mean, those kind of specialized builds are not really what we're talking about today. Like in those builds, he also wants an enormous amount of health. Like that's what he wants, because he wants to survive certain events happening that are outside of what normally transpires. So here's the thing. Let me show you why in the kit he doesn't need speed, at least if you're running him with the right teams. So every time he hits someone with more than 50% health, which is the majority of the time, he gains 40% turn meter. That's pretty awesome. The Master Stroke, when he uses this, he does his AoE, and immediately, as long as there's at least one more Jedi on this team, he gains a bonus turn. So that's not even a turn meter thing at all. The Unstoppable Force, that one is the one you kind of want to avoid on these turn meter gain teams. But Battle Meditation, he also is gaining a bunch of turn meter based on how many other living Jedi are on his team. And then, so people are on the Jedi team, they're always calling him to assist, always asking him to do stuff. And so he's going to be gaining a ton of turn meter, and he just doesn't need, speed almost doesn't factor into how often he goes, because he is just taking so many turns if you're calling him to assist. Now, if you're putting him on a Jedi Master Kenobi team, for instance, Kenobi doesn't allow turn meter gain. Same with Padme. If you want him on either of those teams, you need him to be fast and give him a ton of offense on top of that speed. If you're with a Ki-Adi-Mundi team, that you're actually using Ki-Adi-Mundi's special or his unique for all the Galactic Republic Jedi, then you just want him to have a huge amount of speed and health. If you're putting him with speed and health, then Cam is going to be able to turn all that health into extra offense, and he becomes a monster. So lots of different things you can do with Grandmaster Yoda. None of them are necessarily like the one right way. I think that ideally you make him super fast, but I have a limited number of speed mods. I can't afford to make Grandmaster Yoda super duper duper fast and still keep other characters like Darth Revan super fast. It just doesn't work. I don't have the right speed. I don't have the right mods for that. So I go the route of him gaining extra turn meter, and then I just keep him off of those teams that don't use him well, or I know that he's going to be limited if that ends up happening that he needs to be on that team. Now, finally, the last one, you guys wanted Sith Eternal. You want to know how to mod him, and I don't blame you. He is a very interesting character, and at the end of the day, so you want speed on him, you want offense, everyone wants all the different things on him. He wants his backpack on him. Everyone wants something. The thing about him is, though, folks, he needs to survive. He is the guy who waits. He's the one in the movies who was like, you know what, I'm gonna just wait for 30 years and just like jump out, surprise, he's gonna grow his fingernails out to really disgusting lengths, and no one's going to trim them for some reason. It's just going to be gross. So the thing about him is, though, if he's fighting anyone, he needs to survive. And at the end of the day, folks, the only thing that really matters is his base health. So you can see I have him modded to be almost 200k health. That just means he's got all the health. He's got a health circle. He's got a health cross, a health triangle, and a health arrow. Now, I tried to put a fast arrow on him. He still wants to be fast. He's a galactic legend. He needs to be, but he doesn't always need to be first. There's a lot of different ways to make sure that he gets where he needs to gets where he needs to go, do what he needs to do without him being faster than other galactic legends. So, try to keep him fast, but at the end of the day, lots of health secondaries if you can find them, and then obviously like some extra offense is nice. It's nice to have some extra offense, but otherwise it's all health, guys. 200k health or bust if you can. Like 180k for sure. You need that, guys. Those health sets, everything, he needs that, because Raycat is a thing only until they're facing a Sith Eternal with an enormous health pool. And then if you take the Armorer, who is pretty cool, like you don't even need the third stack of Beskar, the Armorer is going to give him 15% extra health. His kit is going to give him extra health because he is a galactic legend, and because every time you up his relics, he's gaining 10% max health per relic amplifier level. So he's relic 8, he's gaining 80% of health on top of this. So let's say he's 200k. I mean, 80% of that, he's gaining another like 160k health on top of that. It's obscene. Plus another 15% on top of that from the Armorer. It adds up really quick. And even with Raycat, he just doesn't die. He's just good to go. So if you want to counter Raycat in the near future, guys, get him super healthy. And that is it for today, folks. We're running a little bit. Gosh, this video is a little long, but that's almost what she said. But yeah, let me know what you think about this, what you guys would do differently. Do it respectfully. I love you guys all. Thank you all so much for watching. And remember that in all things, Zareth prevails.